Saji Yushin Meto Chang Rira Vinci Ginde Gimpadi Sangye Shindu Mite Hawaii Droku Nanda Kshima Drupashok Yam Guru Rakananda Kaviyatani Sangye Jiram Suki Chonama Ranchu Kardu Dagi Kyatsuchi Dagi Chuzin Gipe Sonamki Drola Vinci Sangye Drupashok Sangye Jiram Suki Chonama Ranchu Kardu Dagi Kyatsuchi Dagi Chunyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Venchir Sangye Drupashok Sangye Churam Soki Chonama Janchu Bardu Dagi Kyatsuchi Dagi Chunyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Venchir Sangye Drupashok. So let's take a few minutes to calm our minds and shift gears and rebalance and recenter ourselves, just following the breath, watching cycles of exhalation and inhalation. Follow the breath with your mind. Be aware of your nostrils, the sensation at their tips, the flow of your breath. And just count 7 cycles, starting with an exhalation. Bring your awareness to your feelings, your emotions, and get in touch with a sense of joy, happiness, delight. You can feel all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and holy beings all around you, filling space. You can visualize them or feel them, that they're very happy and very delighted, very pleased, joyous. Or you can focus upon yourself in the same way. Bring your awareness to all of those holy beings, filling all the space all around you, and imagine that visualize, feel, see that all of their joy and love and goodness and happiness is flowing towards your heart in a stream, filling you. And feel the joy and love and goodness and happiness pouring into you. Countless streams of radiant white light or rays of love and goodness. So homage to all holy beings. Thank you for coming. Nice to be here with you. Feels good and happy to be here. We're doing the review for the third review, something like that. A review of the review of the review, something along those lines, right? Hey, Mark. So, I don't know, class number 198 or some such thing, right? Somewhere along, something like that. Thank you for all those of you who are here for all 198 classes. So, I'm going to just kind of go over some of the most important concepts that we've covered, because it'd be kind of embarrassing to not know them at this point. So,
there's 198 of them, all right?
Oh, that's class. A lot of ideas in each class, right? A lot of
more than 198, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to do 198 tonight. We'll hit a couple. We'll get to a couple. So, I think probably one of the most basic and important questions is, who made the world, right? Who made all the lousy things in the world? Where do all the lousy things in the world come from, right? I mean, the purpose of Buddhism is to address all of our problems, all the problems we have, right? And we're supposed to be on this path and practicing because we want to be happy, we want to attain paradise, enlightenment, state beyond all suffering, right? Never have another problem, right? So it's hard to get people in the world to be worried about death, right? I mean, when you walk down the street, your average person's not thinking, I might die today, right? How am I gonna fix all my problems? How am I gonna attain, heaven or paradise before I die, right? So you can get people to worry about their boss and think about their boss or their girlfriend or their partner. It's easier to start there. So why wasn't I happy today? Why do I have less hair? Why is my hair getting gray, right? So our culture, and the particular culture we grew up in, taught us a number of wrong ideas about where things come from. I mean, there are several sort of prime candidates in our culture as to where things came from, right? And wrong ideas according to Buddhism. So the first of which is some big guy up in the sky, right? Some guy on a throne, long white beard, white hair, perhaps Santa Claus-like, perhaps not, who's pulling all the strings and controlling everything, who's all powerful and knows everything and sees everything and can do everything, right? So the idea of a creator. Probably some seeds of doubt in most people's mind around that, right? If you really stop and think about it, outside of what we were taught as children to believe and accept, there are a lot of problems with the idea, right? I mean, first of all, you have this person who created everything who was uncreated, right? So there was nothing, and then everything was created, and I don't know, maybe a second person created that guy. Where did the original, what was the original source? So, it's compassionate, but somehow needs to torture people. Somehow needs to cause suffering and needs to, have AIDS and cancer and all those things in the world. And you say, well, it's a test, right? why do babies that are just born have to die? I mean, you need to test babies that are just born. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to make someone suffer so that they can learn something and they can be tested, at least do it with people who are mature or adult or who have some perspective and able to learn something from being tested, right? So there are all sorts of irrational ideas around the idea of the sky up in the sky. So that's one idea. Another idea in our culture is brought to us by science, which is basically evolution, or sort of a random a bunch of molecules, a bunch of atoms bouncing around. Things, they bump into each other. Things configure and they reconfigure over a long period of time, billions and billions of years, and eventually cells turn into multi-cell organisms, which turn into fish, which turn into the next thing, which turn into the next thing, and that's why G is wearing the scarf she's wearing today, and why her boss, or not boss, or why her client, acted the way that they did today. Somehow this idea of molecules bouncing around and a big explosion, however many billions of years ago, is the reason and the cause for G going through the day and having the conversations that she had today, and wearing a scarf and having a good day or a bad day, right? So there's a little bit of an issue with that, and the notion that everything has a cause, except the most important cause can't be explained, is somewhat problematic, right? So this idea that, well, first there was a point or something or nothing, and then there was an explosion, and then that was the cause of everything, but you can't really explain where that came from or what caused that. So can't explain the most important cause or the first cause. So things seem to be random, but there's no beginning, and then something happened, and that's unacceptable even in science. I mean, if we believe science, and if we believe that everything is caused, science should be able to explain what caused the beginning of things, and how it is that a bunch of molecules randomly interacting led to your particular day and your particular experiences of the day. So it's unsatisfying. It's incomplete, right? And it doesn't really explain why my hair is the way it is today. Why I'm having a good hair day or a bad hair day. It was just random molecules bouncing around from a billion years ago, or what? Yeah, is there something more than that? So everything has a cause, but the most important thing doesn't have a cause because we can't figure it out. So we'll just leave it at that. So that's scientific approach. I mean, and from the perspective of God, it's like, well, there's, if you go with mythology, there's Adam and there's a rib, and God took out his rib and made a woman, and then there was a man and a woman, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the Tibetans would say, no, there was a deer and a white hare. Everybody knows that that's where the world came from. So it's just about the same, right? So, and then from a Buddhist perspective, it's that you have the idea that watermelons come from watermelons, oranges come from oranges, things come from things like themselves, right? You hurt somebody, you have a good result. You harm someone, and you have a bad event in your life. So content has to be similar, and things have to have happened before, and that's an observable rule for everything else in life. And so why not where we come from, and what causes the experiences of our lives, right? So when Buddhism says, if you don't like your life, or if you don't like what's happening, you should go and fix it, it's based upon the fact that everything's caused, right? It's not because somebody up in the sky did it to you. It's not because the Creator God made it that way. It's not because life is a random walk in the park and things are meaningless or unexplainable, right? I mean, Buddhism says, if you don't like what's going on around you, if you don't like your aches and your pains and your suffering and you're growing old and you're having relationships and losing relationships and having a good day and having a bad day, then take responsibility for what's happening. Don't blame God, don't blame someone else. Don't say, it's inexplicable and, you can't help yourself or you can't change it, right? You have to take responsibility and do something. So the option is to just sort of die quietly and suffer until that time comes, right? So saying I can't figure it out or there's no reason is not part of the Buddhist path, right? An important part of the Buddhist path is taking responsibility for one's life and saying I'm responsible for my life. I understand that everything is caused. I understand how causation works. I understand that I have to collect the appropriate causes to get the results I want. I can't expect for things to just magically appear on their own if I didn't set the causes in motion, right? And because of how we were, and we're going to talk about it later, because of how we were brought up, because of the mythology or the culture that we were raised in, it's very difficult to get rid of this deeply ingrained feeling that it's someone else's problem, it's someone else's fault. Someone else is responsible for me other than me, right? My life should be better and it's not my problem. It's not my fault, right? Why don't I have the things I want? Not my issue. It's my boss's issue. It's my whatever issue, right? So not according to Buddhism, right? According to Buddhism, we're responsible for every experience of our life and every element of our life and every aspect of our life. And the only way to have the life we want is to create it and to cause it, right? So in our job, as well-educated Buddhists and the next generation of Buddhist teachers in the world, is to inform people of that and to educate people around these ideas, right? That the world is created by their actions and thoughts and words. So it is a life or death question, right? It's not just sort of an idle philosophical meandering, right? It is the key to a happy life or a suffering death. And it's important to let people know these things. It's important to provide this information to people to try to help them, right? Try to alleviate the suffering of the life. So, and we all have that responsibility as well-educated Buddhists, right? And that's the most important thing about all these courses, is where did things come from and how do you fix it, right? I mean, that's the macro, right? Is like, this is my life. Why is it the way it is? I want a different life. How do I get it, right? I mean, that's pretty much how we all live all the time. It's like, I want. I mean, if we stop and look at our day, what do I want for lunch? What do I want for snack? What do I want to wear this morning? Well, I want a new car. I want a new house. I want a new boyfriend. I want a new girlfriend, right? I want some entertainment. I want to go to a show tonight. I want to go for a drive. I want. Right? So, given that that's how we live, right? Given that that's the nature of our lives, wouldn't it make sense to figure out how to get what we want, right? Instead of just saying, I want, and then never getting it, right? And being like disappointed over and over again, right? Wouldn't it make sense to just say, this is what I want, this is how you get it, and let me actually, collect the causes and set the causes in motion to actually get what I want, right? All right. So, and there's one other worldview, so as a Buddhist, you're up against several worldviews. You're up against the random walk in the park, scientific worldview, right? You're up, which doesn't really feel like a satisfying explanation as to why that person yelled at me this afternoon. I mean, is this guy yelling at me this afternoon because of the Big Bang billions of years ago? Really? And it all just is random and all these things came together in a random way? I was born at random and I met them at random. I get this job at random. I get this promotion at random, and I go to all these meetings at random, and on and on, right? We had this conversation at random, and the words and the meaning all come from some random, coincidences that have magically come together so that I understand words and language and meaning and on and on and on and on, right? I mean, it goes on. You can go a long time with that. It's not very satisfying, right? Nor is it very satisfying that the puppet master is just screwing me over, because somehow I was a bad boy, right? I mean, I'm a nice guy, treat me right, do nice things for me, come on. How about some good stuff here, please, right? I mean, Anyway, I could go on, but was I that bad? Were we all that bad? We have to be punished and suffer that much? Come on, doesn't make any sense, please, All right. So anyway, so then there's another worldview that we haven't talked about, which is, I'm just trying to get by, I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to think about all this stuff. Don't bother me. Don't ask me to examine anything too closely, right? I just want to get through the day, right? I mean, I'm trying to make it to tomorrow. I'm not interested. I don't care, about where things come from and stuff like that. I'm happy if I can just get through work and have a beer and watch a TV show and get a good night's sleep. Thank you very much, So that's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough one to overcome, right?